Get the gimmies.
Like this. They do this. I want this, I want this.
Of course, the members of the bear family who lived in the big treehouse down a sunny dirt road in bear country loved each other. They loved each other very much. Brother and sister bear loved their mama and papa. Naturally, mama and papa bear loved their cubs, and of course, they were nice to them. As nice as they could be. But sometimes they were a little too nice. Sometimes the cubs got too many treats, too many toys, and too many rides on the bucking duck at the mall.
Treats, toys, and ducking.
Maybe that's why brother and sister bear got the gimmies. Or maybe it was because there were treats, toys, and fun things to do wherever they looked. At the supermarket, at the mall, or on TV, and just about every which where. Maybe that was why they began making a fuss to get what they wanted. Especially at the supermarket checkout, where there were always stacks and stacks of candy and other goodies. Now, cubs, Mama Bear said as the family got into the checkout line and she saw that old gimme gleam in their eyes. We can't have a big fuss every time we pass candy. I simply won't stand for it. Do you guys do that at the checkout? Where you're like, gimme, gimme, gimme. Can I have an egg?
Once in a while.
Once in a while.
Hey, Lisa, now you can stop us keep the gimmies. And
sure
we
you
don't
can.
have the actual gimmies.
But Mama, whined Sister, they have gummy gumballs, my favorite, and chewy chompers, my favorite, whined Brother. Now hush, said Mama. I simply won't listen to another word. That's when Papa Bear smiled and said, now, Mama, you're only young once, and handed the cubs their favorite treats. It's only too true, said Mama as they were leaving the supermarket, that you're only young once. But that's all the more reason to learn proper behavior while you're still young. And I certainly think, look, look, shouted Sister, a new ride. Hey, a bucking frog, shouted Brother. That looks even better than the bucking duck. Maybe we ride it, please. May we? May we? Please. Guys looking?
Yeah.
Here's the pictures.
Please. Well, we didn't get to see the other ones.
I showed you all the pictures. Now Papa had just bought them treats, and he thought that was enough for one day. But the cubs made such a fuss that he sighed, dug into his pocket, and put some money in the slot. Papa looked at Mama and shrugged. Cubs will be cubs, he said. Sounds like Papa's digging himself a hole. What's going to happen, you think? He keeps saying cubs will be cubs. They're only kids once. You're only young once. What did Mama say about that? She said that's all the more reason to learn when you're young, right? Proper manners. It may be true that cubs will be cubs, said Mama, as they walked across the parking lot to their car. But that's no excuse for jumping up and down and making a scene every time they see something they want. Look, look, shouted the cubs once again. Little rubber cats that stick out their tongues when you squeeze them. Cubs, said Mama, that will be quite enough. I don't want to hear another word.
No,
do you think Mama Bear's losing her patience?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Because they...
Are they listening to her?
No.
They keep asking for more stuff, don't they?
Yeah, they want to get wise candies.
Right.
And now they want
everything they see they want.
And now they want a toy.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my. Oh, please, they shouted, may we have them? Please, please, please. Papa decided it was time to put a stop to all that fussing. Stop that fussing, he said with his loudest Papa Bear voice. But they were making such a commotion they didn't even hear him. Sister was jumping up and down so hard that she fell over backward and started kicking her feet in the air. Please, please, shouted the cubs so loudly that the whole parking lot took notice. "Brr," said embarrassed Papa to the toy seller. "2 of those rubber pussycats, please." Oh, he gave in, didn't he?
He said pussycats.
Why do you think he gave in? What did they say? They were so loud that what was happening?
That all the people there looked over.
Other people were noticing, weren't they? Do you think Papa and Mama Bear might have been embarrassed?
Yeah, they're kids.
So do you think they were like, let's just get out of here, so let's just get them, right? They wanted a quick fix to their problem, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. So
Do you think
then they can talk when they get home.
But do you think it's going to help, or is it going to make things worse?
Make things worse.
Well, let's see. The rubber pussycats not only stuck out their tongues when you squeezed them, they went squeak, squeak as well, and they squeak, squeaked all the way home. Mama was quite annoyed by the time they got back to the treehouse, but Papa was so angry he could hardly speak. It wasn't until the cubs had gone about their business and Mama had made a pot of tea that Papa's voice came back loud and clear. "Of all the outrageous, disgraceful, embarrassing behavior I have ever seen," he roared, "that selfish, greedy performance by our cubs was the worst. Brother and sister have the worst case of the galloping, greedy gimmies I've ever seen."
Hey,
Oh
Papa.
boy, he was embarrassed. He had all the emotions. He can't believe that his kids, his own cubs, would act that way.
Wait. Do that again. I know why, because he's like, darn it, no, bad kids. No, he
didn't call them bad. He was embarrassed by their behavior. He knows their kids, though.
Because
Why are they talking?
stop.
Why are they talking?
Wait, who talking? Grandma, Grandma.
Mama and Papa Bear, can you sit down?
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'm going to keep reading. Just keep thinking.
Wait, no.
Nope, I'm going to keep reading. "Yes," said Mama, calmly sipping her tea. "But have you ever stopped to think about why they had to have the gimmies? Perhaps their greedy behavior isn't all their fault. Perhaps it's partly our fault for giving in every time they make a fuss." Papa listened quietly, because you just can't have everything you want all the time. Life isn't like that. Do you understand? "Oh, yes, Papa. We understand," they said. Do you think they understood?
No.
No?
They're lying.
Well, maybe sometimes you guys, I'd say something to you and you say yes, and then you don't necessarily do it. But that doesn't mean you're lying, right? What does that mean maybe? You still need time to learn, right? He talked to them about counting their blessings, which meant enjoying the things they had of forever want, He talked to them about counting their blessings, which meant enjoying the things they had instead of forever wanting more and more and more. "Does that make sense to you?" he asked. "Oh, yes, Papa," they said. "It makes a lot of sense." That's when the cubs heard the sound of a familiar car door. It was Grizzly Gramps and Gran come to call. Brother and sister ran to open the front door, and as Gramps and Gran came up the steps, they made the biggest fuss yet. "What you bring me?" they screamed. "What you bring me? What you bring me?" That did it. Uh-oh. It's hard sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Sometimes you understand, but you still have the habit of doing that thing that you need to.
it's not their fault. It's not the kids' fault. It's the Grams' fault.
Well, that makes it difficult, doesn't it? Because grandparents do that type of stuff, right? So, yeah. Sometimes, like Mama and Papa Bear said, it's the adults. Because they have to teach the example, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
"Up to your room," roared Papa. "Up to your room and no TV or treats for a week, for a month, for a year." The cubs knew this wasn't the time to argue. They scurried up the stairs and into their room. "We seem to have come at a bad time," said Gran. "What about these things we brought with us?" asked Gramps. "A puzzle for brother and a top for sister." "Your presents will have to wait, Gramps," answered Mama. "I'm afraid brother and sister have a bad case of the gimmies." "The galloping, greedy gimmies," added Papa. "The worst case I've ever seen." The cubs opened their door a crack to listen. So, They got some stuff from their gran and gramps, and they ain't gonna get it, are they? So that's the other thing. When you got a case of the greedy, what do they call them? The greedy gimmies. Then you might lose out on something else that you really need or want, right? The galloping greedy gimmies. The worst case, you say? Said Gramps, looking Papa in the eye. Seems to me you were quite a gimme cub yourself when you were little. Brother and sister sneaked to the top of the stairs so they could hear better. I was, said Papa. Of course. We didn't have malls or supermarkets back then. But there was old Ruth Grizzly's General Store. Wonderful place. Sold just about everything. Honey cake, licorice sticks, molasses apples, and all sorts of toys and novelties. And did you ever have the gimmies? Did you ever? You wanted everything in sight. Downright embarrassing. Why, it got so bad we couldn't go there anymore. So what does that tell you about cubs and kids? Something that all kids do. It doesn't mean they're bad, does it?
It makes you can't go to places anymore.
It just means it's hard sometimes. Yeah, to go places. Kind of like Mommy, where I say I don't like to take you guys to the store because it makes it harder because you guys get the gimmies. Or if I want to just go to a store and get something that's very important, sometimes I forget because I have to say, no, you can't have that, or let's go, we're done looking at that, you know. So we worked out a deal, said Gran. When it came time for a trip to the general store, we had you decide on a treat ahead of time. It could be a sweet, a toy, or a book, and that was it for the day. Right, said Gramps. And if you came down with the gimmies, we went right home and you got nothing. That sounds like a pretty good plan to me, said Mama. Me too, said Papa. The cubs tiptoed back to their room. It sounded okay to them too.
Did that then?
So they had time to think about it, and then they got time to actually listen to their parents explain it to other adults and talk it over. They listened to their parents talk and communicate.
That's what's good of grandparents.
Yes, that's true. And that's also why it's good for parents to communicate without the kids around, isn't it? Because then they can come up with a good plan. The next time the Bear family went to the supermarket, they tried the Gramps and Gran plan, and it worked. Brother decided he would get a book about dinosaurs, and Sister wanted a new box of crayons. Mama and Papa were very proud when the cubs passed the candy rack without so much as a peek. Brother and sister were pretty proud of themselves, too. But then they heard it, the familiar sound of a cub with a bad case of the gimmies. The kicking, screaming cub was just behind them in the checkout line. You never heard such a fuss. What outrageous, disgraceful, embarrassing behavior, said Sister. May we leave? Yeah, said Brother. Let's get out of here. So now what happened? They got to see how they were behaving, didn't they? They didn't like it, did they? They said, let's get out of here.
He's a bad boy.
We don't call them bad. They made a bad decision. Or not a good decision, right?
Well, actually, I mean, they
Gavin, kids, you guys do things like this all the time. It's part of being a kid and growing.
I forgot.
It's okay.
I know.
No, Gavin. And that's how Brother and Sister Bear got rid of a pretty bad case of the galloping, greedy gimmies.